All right, we'll go ahead and get started. The lesson today is from Numbers 14, 1 to 38, choosing faith over fear. I'm going to back up a little bit into 13, and because there's something interesting at the end of 13 that kind of puts the mindset at the start of 14. Verse 13:30 says, Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him, we can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report. So these guys went out giving a bad report, the other spies, about the land that they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak, and from Nephilim. And here's the verse that really got me. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked like grasshoppers to them. So they started out with, look, I don't know what they talk to these people, but when you start out with, I look like a grasshopper to them. And that's what they think I look like. Well, did they talk to anybody in there? No, they didn't have any contact. They just went. Sometimes you wonder, did Caleb go to the same place? So we know they sent 12 spies. We know how they picked the spies. One from each tribe. Two of the spies came back and said, hey, let's go get this place. It's ours. One of them was Caleb and one was Joshua. It's interesting. Caleb came from the tribe of, does anybody know? Judah. Who else came from the tribe of Judah? A long line of people came from the line of Judah. So we get to 14, and this is what happens. It says that night the community just raised their voices and wept out loud. They were all afraid. Fear. And they grumbled to Moses and Aaron. And they said, if only we died in Egypt. Why is the Lord going to take us and send us over there to be killed and our wives to be killed, be taken as plunder? And this is really, really, if you watch things going on today, you can almost piece together some of this with it. Oh, if this person gets elected, that's going to happen. If that person gets elected, that's going to happen. No. God's in charge. No matter what, God's in charge. But sometimes we don't remember that God's in charge. They say we should go back to Egypt. What's wrong with that theory?
They were slaves.
And they probably had a bounty on their head. At least some of them. I mean, the whole army was killed. Leaders and everything when they went and got swept into the ocean. So you're going to think you're going to go back to a friendly territory? I don't think so. And how are you going to get across the Red Sea? Sorry, that avenue closed up. So Moses fell down, face down, in front of the Israelites assembled there. Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephthah, I'm not sure how to say that name, who were among those who had explored the cities, tore their clothes. So you have Caleb and Joshua. His name was different. Moses changed his name before they went into the land, before the spies left. Now, they're grumbling the whole time. I mean, so really what's going on here is a hostile takeover, a mutiny. I don't, it's reading this, it was hard to understand what was going on. I mean, really. But I can understand because it's called the mob mentality. Don't take much to stir people up. I can tell you from working at Ford Motor Company, rumors go around there faster than a whirlwind. I mean, me and another guy, we used to just start a rumor just to see if it'd come back around. About 3 hours later, there it was. I'm just laughing, going, I started that 3 hours ago. Facts. We don't ever work on facts. The fact is, God led them the whole way. A pillar of fire at night, a cloud during the day. God was there 24/7. And they still didn't think they could do it. See, that was the problem right there. They didn't think they could do it. Well, they couldn't, because they had to trust God. It takes trust. It takes trust to... Has anybody ever been to Mammoth Cave? Okay. So you took the cave tour and been walking around in the cave. They shut the light out. Well, let me just ask you, you went on this tour with somebody who was a guide that you knew the way. What happens if when the tour started, they said, hey, you, Bubba, in the back, you're the guide today? How many of us would say, I think I'll be backing out of this one. I won't take this tour. Because the tour guide knows where to go. You don't want to go with somebody that don't know where to go. But the tour guide was leading their way day and night. And they stepped away from reality into their own reality, that they could not do it. Then it got down to they wanted to stone and kill Moses and Aaron. Then that's when God stepped in. It says that the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people treat me with contempt? How long will they refuse to believe in me? In spite of all the signs I have performed along the way, I will strike them down with a plague and destroy them. But I will make you into a great nation and stronger than they. So right there, God was like, I'm done with y'all. Now, I think this was a test. I really do. Because the more I read into it, the more I think it was a test. Because Moses, the leader, stepped up and said, Lord, you don't want to do that. Now, what would be a reason you would think that Moses had for that? Lord, you don't want to do this. I mean, if I'm leading these people, now when you're talking I don't know how the leaders were spread out, because there had to be more helping than just Moses. But you're talking 1.5 million people, 600,000 men. You figure 600,000 women and children, 1.5 million people. It took them 2 years to take an 11-day journey. Something was wrong. A lot of grumbling along the way. But what would you think would be Moses' reasoning for saying, Lord, you don't want to do that? Moses said, the Egyptians will hear how you brought the people up from among them, and they'll tell the inhabitants about land about, hey, God killed them all. He took them out of Egypt just to take them there and kill them. Moses was worried about God's reputation. It's kind of funny. That's why I think this was a test. I think God was testing Moses to see what his leadership was really like. I can't prove that biblically, but just in my own mind, it was like, Lord threw the ball in his court, and let's see what he's going to do with it.
Well, Moses was interceding for the people.
He was. He stood up for the people. Moses was just, to me, it was like, he talks about, putting these people to death. They're going to hear about it. You don't keep your promises, and all this stuff. Now, Moses basically he says, I will make you a great nation after I kill all these people. That's what God said.
Like he was going to start over.
Start over.
God was fed up.
I think Moses and Aaron were fed up with him.
Life is a testing place, not a resting. All of us are tested. Not because of God, but because of the devil and our flesh. And fear is something that we got to recognize. The Bible has 365 times that somebody said, fear not. A respectful fear toward God is different than a fear of lack of self-confidence or lack of what the devil wants us to do by ourselves. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's our attitude. And fear not, faith open, no matter what. So our faith in God is what destroys fear.
Exactly.
We have a better image of ourselves.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because fear, there's a difference between being afraid and fear. Because fear will freeze you. It will freeze you in place. Many times I've been afraid. Multiple times. But in them times that I've been afraid, there were times that if I didn't have an action at that moment, I wouldn't be around to fear anymore. So I couldn't fear. I was afraid, but I had to move. And they were so afraid. That's kind of why I read that verse in 13. We seen ourselves as grasshoppers, and they seen us like that too. Well, that's a statement of fear. Straight up. We can't do anything because they're bigger than we are, and they know it.
It's interesting. They had just seen God destroy the most powerful nation on the planet at that time. They were afraid of these things. And you don't think that those people in that land didn't know what had happened to each other. They had the advantage.
They had the advantages, absolutely correct. It's hard for us to comprehend. It's hard for us to comprehend because we know the rest of the story. And when we know the rest of the story, it makes us, well, I know how the story ends, so. But if you're living in it, because they talked about the fear of them taking over them and making slaves out of them, and they're taking their wives as plunder. But only 10 of them out of the 12 believed that. Caleb and Joshua said, hey, it's ours. Let's go get it. Let's go take it. With God's help, we can do this.
Be careful who you follow. One along with Ruth did.
So Moses goes on, and God said, and this is God's reply, I have forgiven them as you've asked. But there was a big but on the end of that. The 10 spies, the ones that were the rabble rousers, the one that stirred up the crowd saying that they couldn't do it, they died. They got the plague and died. Almost immediate. Then then the Lord said, listen, all these people, anybody older than 20 years old will not see the promised land, but Caleb and Joshua. You were 2 years into a journey going to a place that was supposed to be your paradise that was given to you. Just walk across and it's yours. Now they get a sentence that if you're older than 20, you're going to die, and
God forgave them, but there were consequences for the rebellion.
exactly. Us as how many parents have had to discipline a child? A lot of times anymore, it don't seem like any parent disciplines a child, but disciplining a child is not fun. Did anybody ever say, my dad said it to me multiple times, this hurts me more than it hurts you? It does. Physically, no, but it hurts my heart more. When you have to have talks with your children that you really don't want to have, it hurts. God didn't do this lightly. This wasn't something, hey. Moses set up to for the whole children of Israel, all of them. And somebody would say he stood up to God. Well, no. He reasoned with God. He didn't stand up to him because you don't have a chance to stand up to God. But you can reason with him. So these people, it's 40 years. That's like me looking in the lobby right there, standing right here, and you say, well, you got to walk around here for 40 years before you can go in the lobby. It's hard for us to comprehend, hard for me to comprehend. All the things they had seen. So the punishment for them was they weren't going to get to see the promised land. So you have consequences, you have punishment.
And forgiveness.
And forgiveness. That is the big one. When people say, well, how did he forgive them? He's going to kill them all before they get to the promised land. Well, they didn't die right then. Funny thing about this story is that, so I said the guys that spread these rumors, they died. But guess what a bunch of the children of Israel decided to do? Now, it's not in this lesson, but I'm going to add this to it here. They decided they're going to go to the promised land and take it. Like God had told them to in the beginning. How did that work out for them?
It worked.
Nope, didn't work. Moses tells them, it ain't going to work. You're just disobeying God again. You take a bad situation, make it worse. You don't get told who went, and who did this, and who did that. I would hope it wasn't anybody younger than 20 years old. Because the people went and tried this little insurrection on their own after being told what was going to take place, they died. Moses had told them, hey, you can try this, and I can't help you. I've already stood up for you. I can't help you. So what do we get out of this? So we have mutiny and rebellion. And the Bible says the whole community was grown. Then Moses and Aaron and Caleb and Joshua, Moses and Aaron prayed. In verses 5 through 9, Moses and Aaron prayed. Joshua and Caleb preached. Basically, they went and gave that same message. Hey, we can do this. We can take this. I call when Moses went and interceded for them, I called it humble intercession. The only one that could go and to talk to God about this, I'm going to say stand up to God, because he went, when God said, I'm going to wipe them all out, he went and said, hold up. Who goes to bat for us? Who goes to bat for us when God says, you know, that guy right there? No, God. I know him. That's what we have waiting on us. We look at this like on the other side. You always say, to Canaan's land, I'm on my way. Well, they were on their way and they stopped. Fear. As we know, the story goes on, and you have Moses, and they get to the promised land, and the things, he does something he shouldn't have, and I think that's next week's, but I'm not sure. Because we got a long way to go, 40 years before they get there. But this was a place where, I'm not going to say Moses was wishy-washy through some of this stuff that went on. But, he told God, I'm not the greatest speaker in the world. I'm not eminent. I'm not. I need somebody else. Here, right away, Moses turned into a leader. He didn't ask Aaron to go with him to speak for me. Moses spoke himself. When it comes time for us to go, Jesus is the one that's going to speak for us. I know him. And his intercession for us just says, punishment. There's going to be punishment. There's punishment throughout your life. There's punishment. Consequences for everything you do. But had a caring God who said, all right, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let you live. Some of them didn't like that either. Imagine that. All the grumblings, all the intercession that Moses and people that stood up for him. It would be hard for me to lead a group like that. A group that please and thank you. There's a lot of kids that don't know how to say please and thank you anymore. I was at McDonald's one day. I said, thank you, ma'am. And the little girl looked at me. She says, I'm not a ma'am. I said, yes, ma'am, you are. My mama slapped me if I didn't say yes and thank you. We, as Christians, are going out into a world that is as messed up as the Israelites were. And are we going to be the ones that grumble? Are we going to be like Caleb and Joshua and say, no, we can do this? You'll be fine. Follow us. Follow God. And you will be fine. Are we going to be those kind of people? That's kind of what I got from this lesson. Thank you all for your time. It's 10 till. You all have a good week. Thank you.